everyone, Vikings Guy. Thanks for joining today. On today's podcast, we had an opportunity to sit down with number 97 of the defense for the Vikings, Harrison Phillips. Now, Harrison Phillips gave us nearly 40 minutes of great content today. We talked about his role on the defense, his relationship with Brian Flores, his relationship with J.J. McCarthy. He talked a little bit about how J.J.'s rehabbed and used him as a guy he could lean on to help him get through some of that. I'm not going to spoil it all for you, but if you're interested, also Harrison has his own nonprofit, which helps benefit kids who are differently abled. You can find that at www.harrisonsplaymakers.org. Check it out, make a donation. He's doing worthy work in 3 different areas in our Midwest, and so check that out, give it a look, and if you can, donate. He's a great guy. This is one of my favorite interviews, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Phillips. Hey everyone, Vikings Guy here, and I am here with Harrison Phillips, number 97. How are you doing, Harrison?
I'm doing good, man. I'm thankful we were able to fit this time in. Excuse me driving to my house real quick. We'll finish the interview, but my workout ran a little late. If you could tell, I'm getting that off-season work in, so couldn't cut
Yeah.
that short.
No, very good. Thank you for that. You know, and this is interesting now, I'm recording, I'm in a little small town, and that's the noon whistle. So I'm in a little small town in Minnesota, and that's the whistle that just says everything's good. Um, interesting, growing up in Nebraska, who was your favorite football team in the NFL back when you were in Omaha?
Man, it's crazy. I actually was a big college football fan, so I was way more college football than NFL football. We did
Yeah,
get it was really whatever we got in our network. So I saw a lot of um, Cowboys were kind of always on. You saw them in our
yeah,
local network, and then just kind of
yeah,
branched from Nebraska. So we saw Chicago, we saw Green Bay, we saw Minnesota. Funny enough, we see a lot of the NFC North teams. I would say just because of a couple buddies of mine, America's team, I probably watched the most of the Cowboys, but I
sure.
just had players that I loved. And so whatever
Yeah,
player was playing in that game, that's who I was cheering for, was that team, because I loved LaDainian Tomlinson, or I loved Ndamukong Suh, or, I was more cheering for players than I was
sure.
teams.
Yeah. So you're a Huskers fan, right?
Yes and no. I've
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back around. It's been cyclical for me. I was a Husker fan, didn't appreciate how they recruited me. Obviously wasn't,
yeah,
was salty for a little bit, and then I'm now a
yeah,
fan. So I hope Matt Rule has amazing success here, and yeah, I'm bleeding red
yeah,
a little bit again.
yeah. So they didn't recruit you the way that you had expected. You went to Stanford, which is not a consolation prize in any stretch.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that they didn't recruit me the way that I wanted to. Selfishly, I had thought potentially maybe this was the high school kid's ego and pride, but I thought that maybe they'd offer me my freshman or sophomore year in high school. I went to their camp multiple years in a row. I was a stout wrestler. Let their head coach would come and watch me wrestle. But I think they thought I loved Nebraska so much that I'd be willing to walk on there. And so that wasn't going to be financially, I wouldn't be able to do that financially with my family status. So
Yeah,
started looking elsewhere for full scholarships, and then found out about Stanford. And even if, Nebraska did recruit me the right way, if, Stanford was on the table, I think that any parent would suggest their kid take that route. But yeah, Nebraska
yeah.
wanted me to play tight end. That's what they ended up offering me a scholarship to do, was to play tight end. And I like hitting people a lot more than being hit.
Yeah, no doubt. One thing I noted from especially the 2023 season, it seemed like there was a time towards the end of the season where you correct me if I'm wrong, you seemed like maybe you were a bit banged up. The one thing that I liked the most about that season for you was just the effort level you always put on every play. It doesn't matter what play it is. You're chasing guys down from behind. You're 10 yards down line or down the field chasing people. I just appreciate your effort, Harrison. I think that's one of the things in your career that really, other than the talent, right? I mean, you're uber talented, but the fact that you work so hard, I think it just stands out.
Yeah, I'm appreciative of you. I've had the game taken away a few times due to injury, and yeah, I play through a lot of stuff. I think after that, I think it was the 23, maybe it was the 20. One of those seasons, I had to have a surgery on a foot that was, dinged up.
Yeah,
You fray a labrum, or you tear a labrum and you don't have it repaired, and you got back stuff, knee stuff. Everyone's going through something, so I don't ever kind of throw a pity
yeah,
party. But yeah, I mean, I've prided myself, although it might not look like I'm moving very fast. Maybe it's because I'm so tired and so fat, but I do try. I mean, I'm giving what my best effort is on that play. Maybe my heart rate's at 190 right now, and it's my fifth
Yeah.
play of a drive. But that's where I am giving my best effort. And I've just learned in this business, I've hung my hat on. If you asked any of my teammates who's some of the hardest people you've worked with, hardest workers, I'd hope that my
Mm.
name came up. And
Right.
I've just become a believer that if you're consistently reliable, is significantly more important than to be exceptional often. So
Right.
um,
Yeah.
you can choose to take plays off and then just go rogue for a play and do your own thing and swim out of a gap and have a ton of energy and just go. But I've found out that if I just, if I'm a high effort, high motor, use my brain, and I'm just consistently reliable, that my linebackers and safeties and people around me know exactly where I'm going to be on every given play, even if that means my name's not going to be called or I'm not going to get the sack. I'm at least going to take two, or I'm going to occupy a gap or put a body in a gap so that it frees up somebody else. And I've tried to do that the best that I can.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great answer. One of the things, and you've probably got this question maybe recently, towards the end of the season, Detroit and the Rams, things kind of not really for the defense as much, but on the offensive side of things, kind of fell off the cliff a bit. Have you looked back and said, where did things? Like I said, the defense was. I mean, you guys, you can't control what the referees do. I thought the defense really played lights out, especially in that Detroit game. You guys really gave everybody a chance to win. It's a team game. Where do you think things went wrong in those last two games for you guys?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say you can't pinpoint it on anything. I would say that we had a lot of players feel the urgency to win, and that's that you want that in a team. You don't want, you know, you can talk cliche as much as you want, but if you don't think a basketball player has a little more adrenaline shooting a three-pointer to win the game, or a professional golfer to hit the putt to win the Masters, you feel that's that competitiveness you want in your players. Well, in football, when it's such a team sport, for us defensively, I don't know exactly what goes on offensively, but I know defensively, you got a lot of players, and as soon as you get down a score or two scores and you start feeling that urgency, you want to go be the hero. And you want to stop it, not selfishly. You want to win this game for your team, for your teammates. And so you have enough guys that are
Right.
saying, "I got to go do more." And that happened to me in the Lions game. Towards the end of the game, I was like, I don't make a play. I got to go stop this run. And you have a player try to do that and jump out of his gap to go make the play, and you get beat because of that. So if you have, we call it a my bad. If I had a play that was a my bad, and then the guy next to me has a my bad, and if everyone has a my bad, that's 11 my bads, and that's
Yeah.
11 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
I think that's what crept in a little bit. Now, I personally responded from that going into the LA game, and again, what's more to that, consistently reliable. But yeah, when you get down, I thought throughout the season we've proved we could win many ways. We came back
Yeah.
from behind a few scores. We jumped up on teams early and won with a lead. We won close games, but those last couple, we just got down. Had some players trying to make plays, got to drop back pass offensively, a trillion snaps in a row, and that's as a defensive player, I love that. If I know you guys are down and we get to all go humming, it's going to be a pass.
Yeah.
There's a lot more success on our side. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can't break down, snap for snap with you, but that would be my synopsis.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know what? I don't want to begrudge the season. It was a wonderful season. I'm not a prognosticator. I picked the Vikings to win to go 10-7. And it was a wonderful season. My daughter and I went to London and went to the game in London, and it was what a just an amazing experience. And I have to say, working at the stadium, I feel that energy. Part of the reason I work there is I feel that energy. How does that translate, or does it translate to the defense? Because I see, the false starts and those kind of things. How do you guys feel when US Bank is really going your way?
Yeah, I mean, you guys help us win football games. I mean, that's the statement. Our stadium helps us win football games. I know you just make it a nightmare for teams, and you could throw up the stats and show how many caused timeouts have we caused, how many delays of games, how many false starts, how many just blown plays that the offensive line slides one way and they meant to have it the other way because when they get to the line of scrimmage and they're trying to call out their protections, you guys are so loud that tackle can't hear it. So a
Right.
lot of times, if we're at home and you see JG run untouched to get a sack, you really think they're leaving JG untouched? I mean, no, you guys are helping us win those games. So,
Well,
and it's super infectious. It makes it really hard. I can't hear our play call, and we're out there struggling and getting yelled at, saying, I don't want an excuse to be that you can't hear the play, but that's real. But we want
Yeah.
you to do that, and we continue. We pride ourselves in being able to defend our dirt at home, and I think we won all of them but one at home this year, right?
Right. Yep. 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 The Detroit game, and you guys had that I mean, you had that right up to the end. I mean, it was one of those games where it could have gone either way, and I people want to say that that season was a lot of found money. I don't think so. I went into into the season, and the thing I hung my hat on was this is not a team. There were some of the ESPN guys. You're going to be 3-14. I go. Have you watched this defense at all? They've added pieces now. How could you possibly predict? And again, I'm a homer, but I said for them to lose 13 to 14 games, I mean, what has gone wrong? I've been to TCO. You've been in Buffalo. You've been here. Talk about the training facility at TCO and how that changes the game for you guys.
I think that that's what separates us. You see these NFLPA surveys that come out each year and rank teams about how well they do. I think we've won that the last couple, or been first or second the last couple of years. I'm sure it'll come out again. I think this week or next, and we'll be very high at the top again. And so, you know, uh, unfortunately, you have it's a double-edged sword. I'm a firm believer in coaching. I know like with
Yeah.
NIL and even high school kids, if they're not playing, they're transferring and all that. I do believe that you can still coach a kid and tell a kid to his face that this isn't acceptable and you need to improve and all those things. But
Right.
um, there's also when you become a professional maintenance and availability is the best ability. So
Yeah.
we put a really great team in there. They spent a lot of money. I think that's what attracted me to the Minnesota Vikings is that you have an ownership that wants to win and has shown their hand many times, willing to do it needs to be done to win. And I think that's another reason that you're seeing some of the success is Matt Duhamel, our head athletic trainer, and Tyler Williams, our director of player health and safety. We've got some really great people in that building that help us succeed.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I was in there I've been in there a number of times, been lost a number of times. It's a remarkable facility. And my kids got to play on your practice field last week for a flag football clinic, and just to be around that, just seeing the facility, my kids were kind of blown away how just amazing it is. And you're right, we're lucky to have it. And people ask me when I think the Vikings will win a Super Bowl, and I said a year ago, I said I think within 2 or 3 years this team is poised to be in that game. It's just things have always seemed to have trended that way with the training facility and the players they brought in and the culture that's being developed there. Talk a little bit about the coaches. First off, with KOC, and then talk a little bit about B Flo and just how he's influenced your career too.
KOC has been incredible for my career. The first conversation I had with him was unlike really any conversation I had with another coach before. And I mean, the summary of the conversation was really, Harrison, you tell me what you need to do to be the best version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're a pro. You've done it. We are bringing you here because of the things you've done on the field. You know what your body needs. You know what you need to do. Tell me how to do that. Normally, coaches don't really do that, and he's transformed as a coach over these last few years in a great way, and won Coach of the Year because of that. So I can't say enough positive things about him, and now he's starting to I don't want to throw these phrases around, but let's say he was a little too player friendly in the
Hmm.
beginning, and now he's stiffened, backbone, and like he's a great coach. He's able to
Yeah.
mold players while coaching them, still being hard on
Yeah.
players, but also meeting them with a touch of like growth mindset and Kaizen approach. So he's been fantastic. And then Coach Flo, same thing. I mean, there's a reason I kind of stood with him when there was some stuff going around. I'm absolutely shocked. I'm so happy, but I'm so happy for the Vikings. I'm so bummed for
Right.
him that he didn't get a head coaching job as he should have. Um,
Right.
but yeah, that's definitely gonna be good for the Vikings that we get him back. But we've had a great relationship, and yeah, he just he sees defense in a unique way that not a lot of others see it, and it's helped us win football games.
Yeah. It's interesting with Flores. When you see the just the way he runs the defense, is there anything in particular that just one specific thing that he does that really relates well to your game?
Um, I would say the thing that I probably appreciate the most that he does, it's not no, it's not really a for me thing. I was just saying he'll call defenses in a way that he'll take things off the menu. There's no way that you can call certain plays against us, and so I appreciate that as a player going into a game knowing like, hey, we're not going to see these certain runs because of the way he calls his defense, and that's allowed
Right.
me to then use tendencies to say, hey, I know when he's calling this, they're not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And I've been able to use that kind of mental gymnastics, the intellectual side of the game to help me.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great answer. One of the things as fans, because I do a little of the media stuff, but mostly as a fan, I feel the rivalry. And one of the things you talked about when you were at US Bank Stadium with our staff was just the rivalry with the Packers. You see today it's a lot different than it was in, say, the 60s and 70s, where players are more friendly because a lot of them went to college together, played sports together, et cetera, went to school together. How do you feel like those rivalries? Do you guys feel that those rivalries? How does that affect you at all? Maybe not on game day, but how does that affect you? I think what people forget is you went to college together, you practiced in a lot of same places, you went to maybe school together. Um, the rivalry is different, but how do you feel the rivalry from the fans? I mean, it's a fan thing, but like you go up against Green Bay. You made comments at US Bank Stadium like, okay, listen, the Green Bay fans get treated a little differently. How do you guys feel about that? Do you feel that energy from fans at all, or is it sort of like once we're there, we just play and that's how it goes?
No, I think you definitely feel that. You walk into like a hostile environment, and you know, there are a lot of middle fingers to the buses driving by and a lot of FUs and stuff. I'm sure, they're all
Yeah,
really good people that if they ever met you in the,
sure,
in the off season, they'd be very friendly and cordial to you. But yeah, like on game day, they're defending their dirt. And
right,
that's super exciting. And I agree with you. You have friends on other teams. I think my favorite thing about the NFL, about maybe how it's transitioned over the years, and this is even from a defensive player, like I love big hits. I love, violence and things like that. But I would
yeah,
say there's not as much malicious intent. Like I don't believe there's a ton of
right,
players that say my goal is to injure the person in front of me. I don't really
right,
like that in our game. You can smack them as hard as you want, and that's what I try. But you hope that they get back up. You don't hope that they
correct,
stay down.
yeah,
And so that still stays true amongst all, the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, all those guys. But if I could only win 3 games a year, or 6 games a year, it'd be against those guys.
right,
Um, and we want to do it because we know every single Vikings fan knows an annoying ass Bears fan, an annoying ass Lions fan, an annoying ass Packer fan, and that all of
yeah,
them say the same thing about our fan base. And so it definitely a lot of split households where husbands like one, wives like one, or in-laws
yeah.
like one. And I think it's really fun when you have these rivalries. It's what makes the sport great.
Yeah, you're right. One thing Chad Greenway mentioned earlier in one of our podcasts is that, one of the things he noticed in that '09 championship game is that when he was sitting on the sideline, not that he watches the offense, but he could tell when Favre was taking hits that there's a code of conduct that defensive players in the NFL kind of follow now, where it's like, yeah, like you said, we hit them hard, but there's a line we don't cross where it looks like we're just trying to take them out.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I said, I've had the game taken away from me. I've seen firsthand how hard people work, and the adversity people have had to come from to potentially sniff the NFL, just get a shot
yeah,
at the NFL. And when you put all your eggs in one basket, if that basket breaks, you don't really have much else. A lot of my friends, they don't thrive in other places in the world, and so um, they have to do really well in football because it's their main means of providing an income for their family and their
right,
children. And so I hate the fact that the game can be taken away from people. And that's why I just don't think there's any place in our game for injury like that. So I'm glad that that's not in our game as much. And you'll never see me at the bottom of a pile twisting an ankle or
yeah,
twisting a leg. I know there was actually a clip that went viral from 2 years ago when we played Detroit, and I landed on Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I landed on him on a tackle. He was falling to the ground, like right at my knees, kind of. He was getting tackled going at my knees, not on his side. He was just falling, and I was
yeah,
there. So for me not to get my knees taken out, I kind of had to like jump, and I ended up landing on top of him. And I heard him make a noise of like I'm injuring him, right? I hear him, make a noise. And I think he had an injury that game already, and
right,
so I um, just hearing that immediately, my response was just, I just need to stand up. So I didn't like put my hands on the ground. I didn't do anything. I just stood up as fast as I could. And when you go back and watch the replay, I stood up by keeping one knee planted on his stomach as
yeah,
I stood up. So at one point, all of my weight was on my knee in his stomach or in his side or in his hip or something. And he was battling like a hip injury.
yeah,
And, when I got done with the game, all I see is all these, comments and reposts and all this stuff of this video that doesn't look great. It does look like If you want to see me jamming my knee into the kid, that's what you'll see. But that is not at all what I was trying to
Right.
do. I heard him make noise. I tried to get up quick, and I even looked down at him to try to see if like I could help him or call over trainers. And he was like cussing at me, thinking I was trying to hurt him. But
Right.
that rubbed me the wrong way. That still to this day, there's a bunch of Detroit fans that think that I was trying to injure their player when that's not at all the type of
Right.
person I would ever be. I even reached out to him on social media to like make sure he's okay and let him know I didn't do that on purpose. I don't know if he ever saw it or not,
Yeah.
but yeah, now again, if you're a wide receiver coming through the middle and it's one on one, I'm going to hit you as hard as I can. But if you're hurt, I would never try to do that to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I know you're on a time crunch here. Real quickly, you can answer one yes or no. The Hawkinson hit by Kirby Joseph. How'd that feel?
It's heartbreaking, but I also am friends with other defensive backs across the league, some of the
Yeah.
people on our team as well. And when you're going to find people $50,000 for going high, you're telling them to go low. You
Correct.
are. And, I know people make a lot. It's still 30,000, 40,000, $50,000. And so, yeah, that's super tough to see and disgusting to see. But, put yourself in the position when you're trying to win a football game and you're trying to make a tackle. And if you go high, you're going to get fined. I don't
Right.
know how that's going to be answered. No, I think that
No.
it's dirty.
Yeah.
It's dirty and I don't like it. And I know, TJ feels, about it the way he feels about it. I hate seeing that. So I don't have an answer for
Mm.
you.
Yeah. No, no, no. Then again, I don't do gotchas, but I'm interested in talking to players about just how that, especially defensive players, because you can't hit here and you can't hit here. So, and by the way, it's split second, and you launch yourself, and you're here, and the guy goes low, and all of a sudden now you're at his knees.
And I'm not. I do not know Kirby at all. I don't know him, so I cannot comment on anything that he does or
Yeah.
doesn't do. But again,
Yeah.
99.9% of any player, I don't believe that he says I'm going to launch myself and hope that I land. My helmet hits his knee while it's fully. I don't believe that that's really
Mhm.
happening in our league. You maybe have a
Yeah.
one-off, but again, in the split microseconds of a play, like I know when I'm running at a quarterback and he's kind of throwing the ball away and I'm not going to hit him. I'm not going to risk the roughing the passer in a first down to
Yeah.
hurt our team and a fine. So it's the fine system is teaching people to tackle in a certain way, and people are trying, I think,
Right.
for the most part, trying their best to follow the rules, and there's going to be negative byproducts until they figure it out.
I miss some of those quarterback hits at the end though, man. I miss some of those. Those were some of
Yeah,
the best. You hit those guys.
really.
I know some were whatever, but gosh, I miss those guys. Some of their helmet a little sideways. Um, no, real quickly. You have had a knee injury before, had to come back from it. Any advice that you gave JJ, or did you reach out to JJ and say, "Hey, listen, kind of been where you are. Here's how you work through it."
Yeah, I mean, I've been with JJ kind of the whole season, just little tidpoint bits here and there. One thing that I'd plug him for is I thought it was very impressive. Not even a week after he got his news about what his injury was and what he was going to do, he had called me and asked if there's a specific time each week that I watch film that he could join me and sit down and break down film and talk about what I'm looking for and what defenses and D linemen are looking for to elevate his game more. And I thought that was very mature for this 21-year-old kid who's
Yeah.
going through one of the hardest things he's had to go through in his life. To still see it with like a growth mindset and say, hey, let's try to make something positive out of this. But he's been great. I didn't do the same injury that he did. I didn't have the same surgery, but obviously I've had missed time. So we've talked many times. And when I'm back, I'm in Minnesota here tomorrow. I'll go up to the facility. He will be working out in there, and I'll see him, and we'll talk about how his progress is going and what's hurting and stuff. So
Yeah.
I have full trust not only just in him, but in that staff I mentioned to you earlier that are doing things amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What?
um, I
Yeah.
got I got like 5 more minutes here,
No,
so you
it's
want to wrap
okay.
that up. Did I get to the end of the JJ part
No, no,
a
you
little?
didn't. You're about halfway through. If you want to go through that again, then I just got a couple more things, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think yes. To answer your question, I've been in great conversation with JJ throughout the knee stuff. He always asked me a question or two. We didn't have
Hmm.
any, near the same injury or anything like that. But just anytime as a player misses time, you can relate, catch up in the sauna or during a workout. I'll be up there the rest of this week, and I'll see him in the facility, and we'll catch up and make sure he's doing all
Yeah.
right. I told you, the type of person that he is. I know he'd come back from this, and the type of people that we have in our staff, I know he'll come back from this. But I thought one of the most impressive things from a 21-year-old kid is a week after he finds out that he's injured injured and probably going to miss a lot of time, he had reached out to me and asked if we could find time once a week to meet together and watch film,
Yeah.
so that he could understand how a defensive player is watching film, or what I'm looking for as a D lineman. And again, just to see that initiative from someone going through probably one of the hardest things he's had to go through up in this point in his life
Yeah.
was very impressive.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. Oh, just to mention it, by being on the podcast, you do receive the one-off hat here.
Nice.
Yeah, and on
Nice.
the original one I made, I put that on the back of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow. Does he have one yet?
He does not have one. If I send you one, would you give it to him?
Well, I want one, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, you're going to get one for being on the podcast. That's your part. That's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
gift.
Send me two.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so everybody, I've sent them to Alan Roach, the PA announcer, blah blah. Yeah, so I'm glad I hope you like it. I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about to wrap up here. Talk about your foundation, what you guys do, the thrust of what you do, and the impact that you have in. It looks like 3 communities or in 3 areas.
Yeah, Harrison's Playmakers has grown quite a bit since I was in college. In Omaha, where I'm from, in Buffalo, where I used to play, and obviously in the Twin Cities now. And we work with individuals with special needs and developmental differences, and we just try to provide them a few opportunities that maybe they wouldn't get outside of it. And so it's, my main thing is I do a real fun like sports camp each summer that involves a bunch of different sports and fun activities like petting zoos and bouncy houses and football drills. But we do really year-round activities. I think I'm planning on renting out a bowling alley here and doing a bowling event or a movie theater. There's some fun stuff that we do, and it just tries to flip that negative perception of individuals with Down syndrome and autism that they can't really do anything or that you should pity this population, and that's just
Yeah.
not the case. And so we want to highlight some of the amazing qualities that these kids have. And I don't like to say that individuals have disabilities. We just have different abilities, and we should
Correct.
highlight
Yeah,
those.
correct. Yeah, it was kind of struck a chord with me as I was going through your website. Growing up, my family had 3. Well, they were like they called them back then nursing homes. Really, they were facilities to help people with developmental disabilities, people with Down syndrome. And so it kind of struck a chord with me because I grew up as a youngster around people with Down syndrome, and it was I've never seen a happier group of people over the simplest things. And if you've
Hmm.
not been around people that have Down syndrome, I mean, it brightens you because the stuff that every day we're like, oh, I wish this was better. I wish this was better. You know what? Tonight's Monday Night Raw, and I'm going to see John Cena, and they are, you know, they're there
Yeah,
all day, right?
yeah.
So that's an important mission. I'm glad you do that. That's some really, really good work. And if ever I can help be a part or do anything to help you, other than just donations, let me know. I'd be glad to help, help further what you do there, whether it's with social media or whatever. I just think it's an important mission what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll let you know. And yeah, to your point, talk about a group that's always really happy. Another thing is never judgmental. You can catch me on my worst day wearing raggedy clothes, dripping sweat, whatever, and they're gonna run up and give me a hug
Yeah.
regardless. A group of people that always wants to, never gives up. You give somebody a basketball and say, shoot that 3-pointer. He'll shoot that 3-pointer 400 times, and he'll believe he's going to make it every single
Yeah.
time. So there's a lot of great qualities we can learn from some of my
Yeah.
playmakers, and a lot of relationships that I've developed through that. And yeah, very thankful for
Yeah.
the NFL giving me a platform to try to reach all these individuals.
Wonderful. And I will put up the link for you too for the website and help you get some money flowing in there. Any last thing you want to say to Viking fans? Things that you just about the fandom or anything you want to say to Viking fans in general?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't know how much time you have. um, I mean, I'm very appreciative of how they've welcomed my wife, myself, our dog, and our soon-to-be son here coming up soon. It's been great. We love our time in Minnesota. We're hoping that I can have a long career that finishes in Minnesota because of the people, the neighbors that we have, the salt of the earth people, my playmakers. And yeah, you just go out anywhere in the community, and there's always someone giving you a SKOL or a great game, and
Yeah.
it means a lot. And I would say too, it's cool to see that on social media we don't have as many negative fans as we do positive. I know some fan bases after a game, if you were to you know get tagged in something, it's only going to be negative. Here, even if you had a poor game, most people are going to tag you in the one positive thing you did. And I know there's still
Yeah.
headlines sell, and should we cut this guy and should we trade this guy? I
Right.
get that. But as a whole, your casual fan, I think, is always looking in the positives in our team, and that's something that not every fan base has. So I
Yeah.
thank you. I thank you, Vikings fans.
Thanks for saying that. It's a long suffering fan base, even though we're like the 4th winningest team since 1970. but we just want that Super Bowl. So next year, just go get us that Super Bowl. No problem, right? Just go get that. It's easy. There's only 31 other teams, Harrison. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I guess no one
Right?
ever asked. No one ever asked that nicely, so that's all we needed.
Yeah, that's it. It's done.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
hey, I gotta
Yeah,
get going. I just want to say thank you so
yeah.
much for letting me
Thank you.
pop on, and thank you for thinking so positively about
Yeah.
my team here tonight.
No problem. Thank you. Good luck to you in SKOL.
SKOL.
Hey everybody, Vikings Guy. I want to say thank you again for listening to the podcast all season. We have some great episodes coming up, but today I want to give a special shout out to Harrison Phillips. Harrison, thank you for the time you gave us today, for that special glimpse behind the scenes of the Vikings, and for being just a gracious guest. I want to say thank you. So with that being said, I want to sign off. It's Vikings Guy, SKOL.